Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Work of Design live webinar presented by Mydoma by Studio Designer. If you're new here, Mydoma is a platform built specifically for interior designers, helping you manage projects, streamline your client experience, and simplify your day-to-day business operations. And the Work of Design live webinar series brings you expert insights, real-world strategies, and practical tools to help you thrive in the business of design. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Marsha Sefcik, not just a business strategist for designers, but also a workflow specialist, client experience mentor, and industry educator. Marsha has nearly 2 decades of experience in the design industry, from running her own design business to training and supporting hundreds of designers through her role at Mydoma and now Studio Designer. She understands firsthand the unique pressures of wearing all the hats, and she's passionate about helping women step out of chaos and into confidence. In today's session, Profit First Design, 5 Steps to Streamline Your Design Business, Marsha will share a proven 5-step Mydoma method to reclaim your time while highlighting how this method is helping designers build sustainable, profitable businesses that truly support the lives they want to live. As always, we'll have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box at any time. And don't worry if you need to step away, this session is being recorded and will be sent to all registrants afterwards. So Marsha, we're excited to have you here. I will hand this microphone over to you and you can take it away. And maybe you could start with the weather where you are, because yeah, fall leaves are falling here, and that's been our little chit chat so far.
Sure thing. So I am in Nova Scotia, Canada. We're just going to get that out of the way right now before you start wondering, where am I from? And it is still very much summer feeling here in the afternoons, but you can definitely feel the crispness in the air in the morning. No leaves have started falling yet, but they're definitely putting on a show right now with all the colors, which is a fabulous time in our province. We definitely tend to shine in the fall of the year. I'm excited to be here today and to join you all for the Profit First Design. I'm going to share with you 5 steps to streamlining your design business. We want to make sure that the amount of effort you're putting into your business, of course, you're seeing the profit on the other side of that. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Not going to spend too much time talking about me because I feel Helena did a fantastic job introducing me. But just so you know, I am the implementation specialist for Mydoma. And I don't know if we have some of our users on here or if you're all new and just checking things out and attending today. I would probably know some of you through my support role as well, but I also have my own signature program that I have been doing with designers in my own business, and that's Bring Calm to Chaos. And so that program has been an amazing offer to designers who are looking to streamline their business. So yes, I'm the senior implementation specialist with Mydoma, and I have nearly 2 decades in the design industry. And I also offer virtual designer support services as well. And that can, of course, I love the variety that that brings to my day because that's different, and those support hours is different for everyone because you all have different needs. So that's me. So today's webinar, we're going to talk about the designer struggle, why profit slips away, what's going wrong, 5 steps to streamline your design business, and then we'll always finish off with some final thoughts and an action plan, some things that you can implement right away. I pride myself on not giving you any fluff. This is real talk. And my hope is that when you leave today, you have some things that you can start using right away. So the designer's struggle. Let me know if this sounds like any of you guys. You're working nonstop, but you're not making enough. Maybe you're overcomplicating and there's an opportunity for you to simplify. Maybe you're over investing. So maybe you're spending ahead of your growth and that's leaving your cash flow tight. You're drained by saying yes to everything because maybe you're new to business, or you're not necessarily new to the industry, but new to your own business, and you just feel like you have to say yes to everything right now, and that can definitely drain our energy and burn us out. Maybe we're not spending the time and building those relationships and those partnerships. So everything that we're doing seems very surface level, and that can definitely make us feel like an island and make us feel very isolated. And then, of course, just scattered focus. Some of us have a really hard time knowing what to do when. And so this is some of the common struggles that I see for those designers that I've had the pleasure and opportunity to work one-on-one with. And of course, in my capacity as the implementation specialist here at Mydoma. So what's going wrong, right? We're women, we're smart, we're great designers, we can execute a design in our sleep. So what's going wrong? And some stats, because I love to share stats, is that a lot of women, um, like I forget the actual percentage because I should have written it down, but women in business in general, like we make up a very small percentage of that. And then there's even a smaller percentage of us that make over six figures, for example. And so where are things going wrong? What can we do, especially in our businesses as designers? Because we are a creative business, but we're also a service business, right? So I find some of where things can go wrong is we're spending time in our businesses, time in our projects without any clarity. There's too much complexity too soon. We're spending ahead of our growth. We're saying yes too often. And like I say, those partnerships are really shallow and we're reinventing the wheel all the time. So we're working nonstop, but we're not making enough, right? Long hours, constant juggling, yet the bottom line doesn't reflect the effort that we're putting in. We're maybe building overly complex systems too soon. And I love systems, I love structure, but I do prescribe to the idea that simplified is best. So when simplified, streamlined workflows most often will serve us better. We're over investing, so we're spending time maybe on tools, staff, or marketing before we have the cash flow to support that. And we're drained by saying yes. As women, we tend to be people pleasers, especially as designers, because we want our clients to be happy. So we agree to projects or clients that don't align with our energy, with our values, or with our business goals. And we're paying the price in stress and overwhelm. And then, of course, those surface level connections, finding it hard to form authentic, lasting relationships with our vendors, with our trades, with our collaborators, and that makes our projects much harder to manage as well. So we're creatives, we're in a service industry, and what keeps our businesses going is the relationships, and we have to put the effort into building those relationships. And I find that that's really hard for a lot of designers now because we're so reliant on social media to make those connections. And so in my program, one of the things, for example, that I suggest is get out there, put yourself out there, start networking, take someone for coffee, offer to take someone for lunch, show up where the people that you want to work with are showing up because it's not necessarily on Instagram. Right? Like, yes, we can follow people, we can show up in their DMs, we can comment, but that's only going to take us so far. So I definitely believe that in order for us to have a successful business, we need to be building those relationships. And so it's not just a relationship with the client. I'm going to talk about onboarding and offboarding because it's really, really important. And I'm going to talk about, of course, how Mydoma can help us do that. But it's also the relationships that you build with your vendors and with your trades that's going to help you be successful. And successful means something different for everyone. And that's another topic for another day. And then reinventing the wheel. How many of you sit down and you find yourself writing the same email or working on the same document over and over and over again? That is where you can definitely go ahead and template something. And I'm going to talk about templates. And some of you might think, oh, templates are really robotic. I don't want to sound robotic. Templates do not have to be robotic. They do not have to be impersonal, but they can definitely save you time. So the 5 steps that I want to share today and talk about today, this is what I call the solution framework. So track your time. And I know some of you right away are saying, I don't need to do that because I charge flat fee. I'm hoping I can change your mind and that you can see the value in tracking your time. We're going to talk about auditing your workflow. So whether you have, you might be saying, well, I don't need that because I have a very streamlined system in place, but I'm going to talk about how doing an audit and reevaluating is necessary because nothing stays the same. We're going to talk about simplifying your workflow, and I am going to chat about how sometimes we overcomplicate things. So when I work with designers and I ask them, what's your workflow right now? If they're not able to tell me, it's not always because they don't have one, but it's because they've made it so complicated or they've tried to adopt the workflow of someone else that doesn't align with how they work, how they approach things. We are all different. We are all individuals. And I'm going here to say that no two design businesses are run the same because they're not run by the same person. Create repeatable systems. I am a type of person who do not want to do anything more than, I'm going to say twice. If I have to do the same task a third time, I am saying, Marsha, take a step. Let's make this a repeatable system. Let's make this a template. Let's save this somewhere so I don't have to keep doing this over and over again. And then standardize and systematize. I knew I shouldn't have put that one in there. I was going to have trouble with that one. So we're going to talk about these 5 steps. So step 1, track your time. And I am serious about this because you cannot fix what you do not measure. Okay. I understand there are two sides of the fence here. We've got the folk that love to do the flat fee. That's it. They are flat fee all the way. And then we have the other side of that coin where it's like hourly, hourly, hourly. Personally, I'm a hybrid. I will do the flat fee on the part of the project where I am in control of all the variables and I know exactly what my time investment is going to be. And then I will switch to hourly for the part of the project where I have other people that I need to be working with and considering, and then, variables that's outside of my control. But even for the flat fee side of a project, I am tracking my time because if I'm not tracking my time, and I'm not just saying the things that's billable, but I'm saying all work. Anytime I touch a project, I am tracking my time for that, for all tasks. And the nice thing is I do use Mydoma in my own business and have been using Mydoma in my own business for 4 years now. And so I just use their timer. It's there. I can pull it up on my phone through the app. You can have the timer running if that's the type of person you are. Personally, I manually enter my time entries because for me, I know I'm going to set that timer and I am going to forget. So I bill in a certain time increment. So for me, I'm not worried about being down to the second and down to the minute. However you like to bill, you can definitely do that within Mydoma. But tracking your time allows you to do that audit that you need to do. I always suggest at least every quarter, every 2 quarters, you sit down and you take a look at the projects that you've worked on in those last couple of quarters and you see how much time you and your team invested and where was the investment made and identify those bottlenecks. And that will also help you looking ahead on what your pricing should be. Are you leaving money on the table, for example? So identify bottlenecks. So, are you and or your team spending 5+ hours on mood boards and presentations? Is there a way that we can tighten that up? Are you chasing client approvals? Repeating manual tasks. What are the tasks that you're doing manually? Are you sending emails out with links to certain things when you're trying to onboard a client when it could all just be in the one place? And are you managing assets from multiple platforms? Like, are you using a ton of apps to run your business? So why does identifying bottlenecks in your business matter? It helps fix overcomplication and scattered focus. It shows you where you're losing time and energy, and it simplifies your process so you can focus on the design work and on the profit. So Mydoma is a centralized project management platform that allows me to source and add everything in there. So if you are a lover of spreadsheets, I'm going to openly admit, and anyone who've ever heard me talk say I hate spreadsheets. I've seen way too many errors on spreadsheets from the designers that I have worked with. And so I feel like you're possibly leaving money on the table when you're using a spreadsheet. And so if I am using Mydoma and I am sourcing and I'm adding all the product in there, and then I have, as I'm sourcing, I am automatically filling out or populating that product lists and spec sheets for the client. I am automatically populating my FF&E schedules that needs to go out to the trades. As I'm placing orders, adding things to proposals, I'm automatically populating those sheets so I can capture that information. And then if something is being flagged for revision, I can actually keep track of that. And that's simultaneously happening. I set up the project, I have all those pieces in place. I am no longer having to say, oh shoot, I've got everything sourced and now I need to figure out and I got to find time to create those FF&Es to get those out to the trades. I don't have to do that. That app happens simultaneously as I'm sourcing. That is just part of the process in the Mydoma method. Chasing approvals. I love to dot my I's and cross my T's. I get approvals on all files, on all documentation. Beautiful thing is I can do that through the files and media within Mydoma, and I can add all the products, all the services to a proposal and get approval. I can even get approval on the concept board if I want it, for example. And I have parameters in place so that when I send out a proposal, I'm not waiting 7 to 10 days for a client to come back and get approval. I have it in the header where I want approval for me within 3 business days because I don't want to be in that constant cycle of them approving and then the price change or the inventory changes, or something goes on back order, and now I'm back to having to do reselect. So I really try, once I'm to that proposal stage, I want to keep moving things along. Repeating manual tasks. I love a template. I template wherever I can. I do not feel, I've never had the feedback from clients that they felt my communication was anything but coming directly from me. I template my entire onboarding process. Even my weekly updates I send out to clients is templated. My proposals are a template. I even use a template for my offboarding. Everything that I can template is done so. I even use the task manager that is built into Mydoma to help me map out my entire workflow from inquiry right down to the offboarding and everything in between. That allows me to very easily delegate to certain members of my team as well. When you have a workflow that is not living up here, it allows you to scale, it allows you to shift when things in the market changes, but it also allows you, like I say, to scale, and it also helps with your sanity. So when it comes to multiple platforms, I know a lot of us love to chase the new shiny thing, and in our industry, software is changing all the time. Everything is changing. How we do business is changing. The software is changing. The client expectations are changing. And so, and then of course, with the software, I again try not to overcomplicate things in my business. I need things to be simple. I do not want to get bogged down into learning and having to manage all these different softwares. I want everything to be in one place as much as possible. So I am not having to cross-reference and make sure that everything in across all these different platforms is the same. So audit your workflow. I firmly believe this. This is the first thing that we do in my program, for example. We sit down and we audit. We identify those bottlenecks. We identify what I call the common chaos leaks. And we sit down and we look at your workflow right from the inquiry phase right to the offboarding. Everyone talks about onboarding. All the coaches, all the platforms talk about onboarding, onboarding, onboarding. And I'm like, yes, we need to make that first great impression. But it's not just making that first great impression and setting the expectations and setting the guidelines of how you're going to work with your clients, but it's that journey in between that's just as important, but offboarding too. We don't want to just do that final walkthrough and see you later. We want to leave a lasting impression. I always compare offboarding to that vacation that you take. What do we remember? If the last day of our vacation goes to pot, that is what we tend to remember. So I always want to make sure that when I am offboarding my client and I'm handing the keys back over and I am walking out their front door, that I have left them with a really good lasting impression. Because when they invite friends and family over to their home and they're getting oohs and ahs over their beautiful spaces, I don't want them to look up and say, yes, but. I don't want them to have complaints coming out of their mouth. I want them to say, oh, yes, we work with this fabulous interior designer. and I want the referrals, right? That's what we want. So audit your workflow, which tasks are repeatable. So think about, you can just take a piece of paper and start writing down what your inquiry phase looks like, and don't overcomplicate it. How do you execute a project, and how do you finish off a project? And what in there is something that's repeatable? Because I'm guaranteed there are tasks in a project, no matter what the scope is, that you are repeating over and over and over again. What can be streamlined and or automated? Where do clients slow the progress? So where do you find the bottlenecks are once you've started the project, the client is onboarded, things get going? For me, it was definitely the proposal stage. And so I really had to take a step back and evaluate that. So even for those of you who have a very set workflow, you have your SOPs, you know exactly what you're doing, it's still beneficial to do an audit on a regular basis. I'm not saying you need to do it every quarter, but I do think whether you do it at the beginning of the year and at 6 months, I do think there is value in that because, like I say, there's always room for improvement. Nothing ever stays the same. Things are always going to be evolving. So are you saying yes too often? I know as designers and as women in particular, we are yes people. We are pleasers. This is why we are in this industry, because we want to make people happy. But we have to recognize what our businesses are to us and what we want from them. So I am never one to look up and say that this is how you need to be showing up. This is the kind of client you need to be working for. This is how much money you need to make. Because your why is different than my why. So you, as a designer, get to decide how you show up in your business and who you serve and what you're going to do. That is for no one else to tell you. So just because everyone else might be doing it a certain way doesn't mean that that aligns with you and that you need to do it that way. So don't say yes. No is a complete sentence in itself, and you don't need to ever justify why you may be saying no to a project. Step 4, turning chaos into systems. So standardizing your process. And again, because a lot of us are creatives, we tend to, I don't know, put up the wall when we hear things like boundaries and standardize and systems. And yes, I understand how you might feel that impedes your creativity, but I firmly believe that creativity thrives when your business runs on a repeatable system because you actually get to spend more time on the creative stuff. Templates ensure consistency and it frees up your brain for design. So you're not sitting there and having to spend copious amounts of time doing emails and communication. Templates do not mean that you are sending out impersonal robotic emails and or proposals. I want you to think of a template, especially from the communication aspect, as a foundation, as a framework. So when it's a Friday afternoon and you are thinking it is soon quitting time and you've got an inquiry come across your desk, whether you have that streamlined or not, how are you going to respond? So for me, I send out my weekly update. I send that on Friday mornings. If I'm really, really organized that week, I might, or I know Friday's going to be a little bit of a circus, I might even write those emails on Thursday and schedule send them. But my clients hear from me and they know they're going to hear from me Friday, every Friday. Doesn't matter if I don't have much to report, I have my template and I pop that in and I fill it out. And so they know that they can anticipate hearing from me. So even if I am heads down and we're just working on the concept and the detailed design and we're working on floor plans and getting samples and estimates and all that, we might not have a lot to show the client just yet, but I let them know where things are at, what we're working on, and I remind them of any important dates and deadlines that's coming up. Protect your time. And so time blocking, I am going to share some tools that I use because not only are we designers and we're working on projects, but we are also the CEO of our businesses and we have to be in our business. But we have to allocate time to do that. So I am a huge fan of time blocking. And I use what I call a model calendar to do that. So I block out I look at my calendar every month and at least every week, but I block out for the month. But I have the times that I'm going to be client facing. So I have set times in my schedule where I know I'm going to be available for client face-to-face meetings and on sites and what have you. I have time set aside that I know I'm going to have my desk time, which I need maybe to get caught up on the back end business of things. Definitely some of that is delegated, but I also make sure that I have the time set to do the creative stuff. And then where's the time? Because again, as women, we need to make sure we have the time for the familial and the self-care and all that, because we do not want to burn out in our businesses. And that happens all too often with us. And so time blocking and that model calendar really helps me. I personally love the calendar inside Mydoma. It works in conjunction with the task manager. So again, I start a new project. I have everything mapped out for that project. I know exactly what phases we're in, what's happening when, what's the important dates that's coming up. But I also make sure that I have something what I call my CEO date that is blocked in my calendar for every Monday. I start my week off with that. I do not start my week off with the idea that, oh, what fires am I going to have to put out today? I start my week with intention and I sit down and I'm like, okay, what are the big rocks in my business that I need to make sure I work on this week? So it's not just the projects, but it's my business as well. Where do I want to get to? Where do I want to see my business go? So I do block out time for design work, admin work, and then that deep work. Boundaries, I often get complimented on how well I maintain my boundaries. That I don't, and some people find that's a bad word as well. They don't like to hear that word. But I feel it protects my time, and it prevents me from overbooking myself. And so that's where that calendar comes into place and what have you. And I use the appointments tools throughout Mydoma because that allows clients to self-schedule within my availability. Now you might be thinking, oh, I don't want a client just booking a meeting because they feel like they need a meeting. That has never happened in the 4 years that I've been using Mydoma. And I can say though, by using the appointment tool in Mydoma, in the last 4 years, I have never felt that I have been driving to a meeting at a time where I did not want to be available. So I set my schedule, my clients can see what my schedule is, and they book within that. The task manager allows me to assign tasks to specific time blocks so I can stay on track and avoid being overloaded. So I know that if I have a bunch of floor plans and renders to get done next week, I'm going to block that out in my calendar. So when I sit down on Monday to do my CEO date, I know that's something that I need to do, and I'm blocking the time out to do that. And then the studio, there's a studio calendar in Mydoma where it allows you to see everything across all projects, and then each individual project has its own calendar. So if you just want to see what is happening specifically within a certain project, you have a calendar for that. And the beautiful thing is, I am a Google Calendar person. If you use Apple Calendar, it's great too, but I can link the studio calendar into my Google Calendar. So I can see what my personal things are, and then I can see what my projects are and where things are lining up with my business. So I mentioned the CEO date. I also mentioned the model calendar because I find that structure allows me to really make sure that I am giving myself the time to work in my business, but also to make sure I'm sitting aside that time to work on the design aspects. And that's where I'm in Mydoma. I'm doing the sourcing, I'm creating my concepts using the design board. I am working on my tasks. I'm assigning things to my team. I'm doing my invoicing, my proposals, and I'm doing my estimates, everything in the one place. I am no longer living in my inbox anymore because I don't know about you, but my inbox can be really, really loud. And the last thing, if this is really a great tool, if you find that you struggle with focus, the Pomodoro method. And that is just short sprints of focused work with built-in breaks. And so I find the 45-minute focused work with a 15-minute break works well for me. Some people like the 30-minute, 15-minute, but I will do a couple of cycles of that. And if there are certain tasks, like admin tasks that you've been putting off, I know a lot of designers that I work with will put off their billing. Kind of that's where I come in. But they will put off their billing. And I'm like, you know what? Set your timer, mute everything, give yourself 45 minutes. You will be amazed at how much you can get done when you eliminate the distractions. So step 5 is all about protecting your time. And so that's going to look different for everyone, but I do encourage you, if you adopt one practice from this webinar today, is that you open up your calendar on your phone, or if you're old fashioned like me and do a day timer, that you schedule your CEO date, and nothing becomes between that and your CEO date. So Mydoma makes this really easy too, because with the appointment tools and the calendar and the task manager, it just allows me to be very intentional with my business. And when you log in, your calendar, there's actually your dashboard is what we call the main page, and my agenda is there. So when I log in on Monday morning, I see my CEO date, and then I see any other tasks and appointments that I have set for myself. So I always say you can't improve what you don't track. So if you're not tracking your time, how are you able to do an audit of your projects? And maybe that's something you've never done. Maybe you've never audited your projects. It is really valuable to look back and have an understanding of how much time you invested into a project, where the bottlenecks were, where the chaos leaks were, and it really helps you then in the future to price out future projects and write those proposals. And so I recently worked with a designer, and she had a project come in, similar budget to another project. And she's like, I'm not sure how to price this. And it's like, well, let's go back and let's look at your time billing. Let's look at the scope of that project, and then you'll come up with a number. I mean, as designers, we're not just, putting a couple pieces of paper into a hat and pulling out a number, and that's what we're charging, right? Create templates. I find, and so I'm going to talk about templates just here briefly, because I know that when you open up your Instagram or you go into Pinterest, you are inundated as a designer with all these templates that you can download. And I am here to say, do not download and overcomplicate and have all these templates um, on your computer, on your desktop, because I've said that you need to template. I want you first, before you even go out and download a template or create a template, recognize what tasks you're repeating, and then decide that you need a template for that. So it might be your email communication, for example. Those can be saved as templates. I'm a Google Gmail girl. You can save your templates in there. I'm sure there's a way to do it in Apple Mail as well. I just don't know offhand how to do that. And then protect your calendar. I am very, very strict with my own calendar. I want there to be a flow. I want to have autonomy over how I show up and when I show up, but I also want to make sure that I give time for myself and for those around me who need me. We are all in different phases of life and different chapters and seasons. And so what my business looked like 5 years ago, it looks completely different today. And when I do an audit of my projects, that also helps me identify, you know what, I didn't really enjoy that, but this is what I'm really missing. This is something I haven't had for a long time. And it helps me also, by doing an audit, recognize what services I really want to dive into and offer clients, and what maybe some services I want to pull back from and not be doing. Because we don't have to be all and do all and be all to everyone. So, are you ready to put some of this into practice? If you are not using Mydoma and you're interested to see how Mydoma can help you get back your time, track your profits, and standardize and systematize your workflow, then I encourage you to book a demo. We would love to continue this conversation with you. Like I say, I've been using Mydoma in my own business for 4 years now. I do full service design, I do online design, and I even do some staging. That's very minimal, but I have all those projects set as a template. So it's very easy for me to onboard and get a new project up and going. I say that it takes me maybe 30 minutes to get a new project up and going and a client onboarded, and I joke that the 20 minutes of that is updating that contract. So I feel Mydoma is the unsung hero of the design world. It is one hub for everything. It makes me look very polished and professional, and it saves my sanity. So Mydoma is definitely my business partner in my business. And I love that I can open up my laptop in the morning. I can log into my studio. My clients can log into their studio. They can see everything is transparent. I have complete control over what they have access to, when they see it, how they see it. But I don't get emails or text on a Sunday morning anymore from certain partners saying, I need to see a statement of account right now. They can see their statement of accounts. They can see their deposits and their retainers that they've paid me. They can see how that money is being used. I can share my time reports with them if I want to. They can see their concept. They can see their floor plan. So yes, I have my regular design meetings with them, but I am not sending assets out through email because I found that when I sent a design board or a floor plan through email, I was getting an email or a text on a weekend or in an evening saying, could you resend it? And because all of our inboxes are noisy and loud, and I know that an email that I got yesterday is buried way deep down now, and it is a pain to have to go look for that. So I love it that I can provide my clients with a client portal where they can log in. It is very easy for them to navigate. I work with clients in their 40s all the way up to their late 70s, and I've never ever received anything but praise and gratitude for how transparent, how consistent, and how easy it is to know where things are at with their project. So I love that Mydoma provides that for my business. And then you do not have to do this alone. So with Mydoma, you have the tools, and then I do offer support to designers so you'll know exactly how to use them. So whether that is in my capacity as the senior implementation specialist here at Mydoma, if you decide to sign up, you will see me and get to work with me through your implementation program. But if you need a little extra support, I do work with designers to streamline their workflow, to hash out what their client journey is, to identify where their bottlenecks are, just to provide support in general. So I do also offer VA work. So I am all about empowering women to build a profitable and a sustainable business because I see too many women out there burning themselves out. So I'm all about let's work smarter so you can earn more. And I'd love to help you make that shift. So I am here if you have any questions. I made sure to leave lots of time for questions.
Hello, I came to bounce in and say hi. That was so great and so much information in a short span of time. I hope everyone is taking as much of that in as possible. I feel like it does, encompass a lot of yeah, just time, like understanding where your time goes is so important.
So important.
So while anyone is jumping into the Q&A or throwing their questions in the chat wherever they're sort of jumping in, I am going to launch a poll as well, similar to what you asked for anyone who might want to know anything else. They can just also answer it there and we can follow up after the session. So I'm going to launch that right now. And yeah, we'll give everyone a few minutes to see what questions they'd like to jump in there. And it looks like
We have one question. Someone's asking, how does Mydoma work with studio design? Are you referring to studio designer? I think so. So Mydoma, yes. Okay, perfect. So Mydoma is a completely separate program and software from Studio Designer. They are two separate entities built by two different developers. The idea is that Mydoma might work better for some designers, whereas other designers might prefer Studio Designer. That is definitely a more sales related question. It just depends on where you're at in your business and what you're looking for and what certain tools and features you want. So for example, Mydoma has the client portal. We have, the mood board tool. We have, and we have, access to the visualizer. But Some designers need more reporting and more built-in financial capability. And so they might enjoy Studio, for example. Not to say, of course, you can invoice and propose and create orders in Mydoma, you definitely can. But I would say the accounting and financial component is a little bit more robust on the Studio Designer side. Studio Designer also does not have a client portal or a client interface. So that is, just a couple of the difference, but they are two separate softwares. So don't think, oh, I'm going to sign up for one and I'll transition over to another. It is a completely different software, so you would be learning a new software again. You mentioned the sync calendar in Google. Yes. So when you are in, I'm assuming you're a Mydoma user if you're asking this question. When you open up your studio calendar, so from your dashboard, you're going to see the calendar on the left-hand side of your navigation. When you go into that calendar, the top, I'll say towards the top left of the calendar, you're going to see a little icon. I'm going to say it's like a little like less than greater than sign. If you click that, you're going to have the link to copy. And then you can go into your Google Calendar and paste that. There is an article, so if you know how to access our knowledge base, click on your studio name in the top left, go help guides, and type in calendar. It will have an article there and show you how to sync that calendar with your Google. So hopefully that helps. Perfect. Awesome.
There is a question in the chat also.
Awesome. I'm heading there now.
Yes.
So you've been tracking time. To how do you measure profitability? Is the percentage earned above cost to provide service? Is there a percentage you feel businesses should aim for? That's a huge question. So every business is different. So what you're going to have to know what your overhead is, first of all, which is not something that you would measure necessarily in Mydoma. You can definitely measure your procurement profitability in Mydoma. And of course, you can track your time to measure the time that you're investing into certain tasks and run your reports against that. But as to percentage earned above cost to provide service, is there a percentage I feel should aim for? That's going to be different for everyone. There is no magic number for that. You have to think about how much, I say reverse engineer this one. So how much do you want to make in your business? How much do you want to take from that as your income? That is going to help you reverse engineer, what types of projects you need to take, what the scope of them need to be, and what the price point of those projects need to be. That will help you figure out those numbers. So I would reverse engineer that. That's what I do. I sit down, Q4 is coming. I'm already thinking about Q1. So I sit down and I'm like, okay, how much do I want to make in Q1 of next year? And so I will reverse engineer that back. Yes, that is something that we definitely work through. I just worked with a designer who had actually relocated from one big city center to a smaller city center, quite a ways away. She was pretty much starting her business up from scratch. She had plans to scale. Now, scale means something different for everyone. For some people, scale might mean being able to go down to 25 hours a week, but still make the same amount of income. Scale for others might mean a new office space and a bigger team and what have you. So I did just help someone through my Bring Calm to Chaos program figure out what was the best path forward. Now that she was in a new city center, she had to get new trades, new vendor relationships, and she wanted to be able to split her time between here and Mexico. And so how could she create the business to allow her to do that? So yes, that is definitely something that we talk about and work through.
I'm not sure if I think you maybe answered both of these in the one, but there was one about tracking time and measuring profitability before the
Yes.
percentage earned. I think you kind of covered both of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's all about documentation. It is. And I know it can be tedious, but I have worked with designers who've been in the business for 20 years. They have never tracked their time. They have no idea how much it costs them to work on a project. They're just putting a number to a project when it comes in. They have no idea if they're profitable or not. That is not a way to run your business.
And someone in the Q&A asked about the financial tracking in Studio Designer and the differences between the two.
Yeah.
And it says, I assume they had the same features since they've merged. And I don't know, Marsha, you can answer this.
They
I
do
can
not
also
have
jump
the
in.
same features. The
Yeah.
company,
Mhm.
Mydoma was acquired by Studio Designer, but the two platforms are not merging. They are separate entities. There are no plans to merge the platforms as of right now. I mean, I can't speak to, I'm at my level, I cannot speak to what future plans are, but right now I know that there is no plans to merge the two platforms. Yes, someone messaged in that the visualizer is an add-on to Mydoma. I would recommend that you reach out to our customer success or sales department if you are a Studio Designer user and you're interested in having access to the visualizer.
Yeah, and I'd say that, like, just building off of that, they are two separate platforms, and they do just service those two different designers. And so, although there is some like, maybe a bit of overlap in functionality, but they are two separate programs that don't talk to each
Separate.
other.
And so
Mhm,
our account executives are trained to help you identify which
mhm.
platform would work best for you. And I'm happy to continue. I can speak more on the Mydoma side of things. So if that's something that you're interested in exploring a little bit more, like I'm happy to have that conversation as well. I do not use Studio Designer. So I would not consider myself to be the expert on that platform, but I definitely know Mydoma and I work with several designers who use it. Any
Uh,
questions? Oh, I
yeah.
see. Sorry.
Okay, so we answered that one. Here we go. There's one in the Q&A there. Mhm.
Um, yes, you can track billable and non-billable time through the time tracking tool in Mydoma. When you go to create a time entry, you'll see actually the option there, billable or non-billable. Does the studio have the mood board capabilities? Mydoma has its own design board. We call it a design board tool. It allows you to very easily add your images. And the beautiful thing is we have a product clipper, and that clipper allows you to add products and images and specs from any retail vendor website, trade website to your project. And then because the images are there and all the information is there, you can create your mood boards very, very quickly. I no longer use Canva or any other app to create my mood boards. I create them right inside Mydoma. I can put a board together very, very quickly. And I don't spend time creating presentations anymore either. Mydoma has its own presentation tool. How do I track work in progress in Mydoma? That's my task manager. That is definitely my task manager. When you create a task, you have different statuses. You can say in progress, complete, done. So I track my time against a task. So when you create a task, you can track your time against it. So that's how I track my work in progress. All
And
right, great
we've
questions.
jumped back into the chat now.
Okay, coming. I'm heading over there. Chat.
And I can also read you some of these too, if that's helpful.
What is the name of your designer support program? So I have my 90-day program, which is Bring Calm to Chaos. And then I have my virtual support services that I offer as well. So those are like any VA, I sell those in hourly packages. So the lowest would be a 5-hour package, and then it's 10 and 20 hours. Um,
And it's
yes, we do have an integration with QuickBooks through Mydoma. Yes, we do.
And I think we touched on this a few times, but at the moment, Visualizer isn't available to Studio Designer users. I don't know exactly what the roadmap is on if that would become a capability, but at the moment, it's just for Mydoma.
It's an add-on, so it's not built into your
Mhm.
Mydoma or your Studio Designer plan. It would be an add-on.
Yeah. And just to kind of clear up a little bit between the differences as well, like Studio Designer is more an operational backbone, so proposals, purchasing, accounting, and reporting. And Mydoma is your creative, client-facing tool for mood boards and all of those kind of more creative functions. And so that's kind of where we are saying like it depends on where your pain points are on which software you're sort of looking at and what you're trying to fix.
Yeah. Yeah, I did just put my website in there if anyone wanted that. I realized I didn't put that on my slide, so I apologize for that. But I also offer a very complimentary strategy call as well, so you can free to book that as well. No pressure, no stress. We're here to help. That's what we do. I love to work with other designers. I find it really rewarding.
Yeah, and we are doing so great on time. Anyone else jump 2 minutes for any other questions? And I will outro us out here. So thank you again, Marsha, for your time today and showing us this Mydoma method. And thank you to everyone who joined us today as well. We've just seen how powerful it can be to take control of your time, your systems and processes so your profit doesn't slip through the cracks. And Mydoma is proud to be a part of the Studio Designer family. And together, we're committed to supporting designers at every stage of your business. And so this Work of Design Live series is just one of the ways we want to bring you strategies, tools, and inspiration to help you thrive. So we'd like to see you at our future webinars and events. Keep an eye out in your inbox or on our socials for the next one. And if you're going to High Point, you should also check out our events there at High Point. So really happy to have everyone here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm love seeing all your compliments and thank yous in the chat. And someone said it was thought-provoking, and that is exactly what I hope to do today. I just wanted to get you thinking. So that's fantastic. I appreciate everyone being here, and I thank Mydoma for having me do this webinar today as well.
Thanks.
Bye.